Good morning and welcome to Morning Joe right here on J&J Media Network, Facebook Live, Twitch TV, Twitter, and on YouTube. I'm Jonah Malkin with you every Monday and Wednesday morning, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 to 11 Central, and 8 to 9 a.m. Pacific. Got a great show for you today. So much to discuss. The divisional round in the NFL playoffs. James Harden made his Nets debut, and boy, did it get off to a good start. I'm going to break down all of that. I want to jump right into things because I've had so much to think about over the past weekend. My Rams obviously lost, which I'll touch on. But did you watch the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last night against the New Orleans Saints? Now, listen, I'm not saying this was the most shocking loss for the Saints or the most shocking outcome because, to be honest, I predicted the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were going to win this game. But don't get it twisted. And listen, I understand that it's easy to understand why a team like Tampa Bay, you lost by a combined 46 points in the previous two meetings against the Saints. You lost 38-3 your last time out against them. You lost 34-23 in the season opener. They were the much more hungrier, motivated team. It's understandable why they came out the way that they did, why they played the way that they did. But this outcome was not New Orleans Saints, or rather, this was not about Tampa Bay beating New Orleans. This was New Orleans losing this game yesterday. Now, I'm going to give credit. Tom Brady made a couple exceptional throws. There's no question about it. But when Drew Brees throws 3 interceptions and commits 1 turnover for a team in New Orleans that all season had never committed more than 2 turnovers a game, Drew Brees has never thrown more than 2 interceptions. He only threw 2 interceptions 1 time this entire year, let alone 3 last night. And so this Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense was severely helped by New Orleans just giving them the ball 4 times in the red zone, or at least in plus territory. You look at what I talked about literally the first week of the NFL season. I said this when I was talking about the Chiefs in week 1. It's not that defense wins championships. It's that timely defensive stops and plays wins championships. You look at the Chiefs from last year in the Super Bowl against the 49ers. The final 4 possessions for the 49ers: punt, turnover on downs, and an interception thrown by Jimmy Garoppolo. He threw 2 interceptions in that game. That is induced by the defense. It's not that the Kansas City Chiefs defense were great. They were bad all season. They came up with timely defensive stops. This Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense wasn't elite all season. They had some elite players. They got Devin White back. He's a tremendous player. I'll touch on the impact. He had 11 total sacks. Tackles, rather. He had a fumble recovery, an interception. He was fantastic. But it's defensive, timely stops and plays. That's what wins championships. And again, you look at Brees, throws the first pick. Okay, it's recovered, taken down to the New Orleans 3-yard line. Tom Brady hits Mike Evans for an easy touchdown. Okay, they had to go 3 yards for their first touchdown of the game. Then you have the Saints up 20-13. All the momentum is on their side. Drew Brees throws a pass to Jared Cook. He makes the catch, has it punched out by Antoine Winfield Jr., which great play by Antoine Winfield Jr., but you're Jared Cook. You got to hold on to that. Now, ball gets popped out, scooped up by Devin White, taken back into the red zone again. And that's how the Buccaneers ended up tying this game at 20 apiece. Then Drew Brees again. And mind you, that had just come after the Saints had scored on their opening possession in the third quarter. So they had all this momentum on their side. All the momentum on their side, up 20-13, marching down the field at the Tampa Bay, 47-yard line when that play occurred. So now you're tied 20-20, or rather you're down by 3, 20-23. Drew Brees throws an interception. Great read by Devin White. Devin White hadn't intercepted a ball all season, and he collects his first interception of the year. in that moment. And then obviously the final interception just iced the game away. But again, this was a very opportunistic defense all season. The Buccaneers defense was top 4 in takeaways, but they were 21st against the pass, and all 4 of the turnovers were induced by the secondary. So I'm not going to say, hey, this was a law of averages where it was just a matter of time before the secondary made enough plays, but give them credit because the defense is what pulled out the stops. They're what pulled out the stops. And listen, I don't want to bash Drew Brees here, especially if this, in fact, was his final game of his career. And I love that moment that he had with Tom Brady throwing a touchdown pass to his kid in the end zone as they're standing on the field in the dome, right? That's an incredible moment, incredible gesture, very classy, happy for those two individuals. And Drew Brees, very commendable at 41 for taking your team to the number 2 seed in the NFC. You win a playoff game over the Bears. You have a fantastic run and will go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, perhaps the most accurate quarterback in NFL history. But this was the second worst game of his season, the second lowest QBR of the year. And as I said before, the Saints had never turned the ball over this many times in the regular season. Michael Thomas was held without a catch the entire night. And a lot of that speaks to the disconnect between Brees and Thomas since they were never on the same page. They both missed time with injury and probably played together only about 4 or 5 games all year. So that rapport wasn't quite there. And unfortunately, this is the 3rd year in a row for Drew Brees and the Saints that they flamed out in the postseason at home. The 3rd straight home playoff loss for Drew Brees and the Saints. And unfortunately, there's no other way around it. Tampa Bay's defense stepped up. Now, listen, Tom Brady, what we're seeing and what we saw last night is the effect that his play, his confidence, his leadership has had on this entire team. It's permeated the entire locker room, the entire front office, the entire organization. He's imbued this confidence, this swag into this entire team. And so now you have all these young, ascending, bright players on the Tampa Bay defense and on the entire Tampa Bay roster that has this zest for football, this eagerness to prove that they deserve to be here, and they're following in their leader's footsteps. Because the confidence that he displays on his throws, I mean, again, Brady wasn't great by any stretch. Now, I'm not saying he played poorly, but it wasn't his most accurate game. 18 of 33, 199 yards, 2 touchdowns, did rush for 1 touchdown, but 2 timely throws. He delivered 2 perfect balls that summed up his career and really put a bow tie on this entire game. A 3rd and 11 pass to Taylor Johnson for 15 yards, just throws a bullet on the outside shoulder. Taylor Johnson out of Minnesota has to reach back to try and catch it, and he holds on to it, hauls it in somehow. Perfect ball. Only his receiver can get to it. There's no way any other player is going to be able to make that catch if it's not thrown in that exact position. Then 3rd and 5. He just drops one in a beautiful rainbow football pass to Scotty Miller down the sideline into 2 defenders. It just dropped in there like manna out of heaven. Just dropped right into his lap. And it was absolutely a perfect ball. He had to hit it, and that's what he did. And that's what the great ones do. That's what the GOAT does. You take a franchise that has epitomized mediocrity for the last 5 seasons and really the last 13 seasons since they haven't made the postseason since 2007. They haven't won a Super Bowl since 2002. And overnight, you transform them into a Super Bowl contender. In his first year in the NFC, he takes the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to the NFC Championship game. It's remarkable. It absolutely is commendable. It's remarkable, and the Saints have the better roster. They really do. They have the better roster from top to bottom, but that can be thrown out the window. It's irrelevant. And again, I talked about how I thought the biggest difference coming into this matchup was the fact that Devin White was coming back healthy. He missed that game against Washington, and the impact that he had in this game was tremendous. 11 total tackles, 10 solo tackles, a fumble recovery, an interception, his first interception of the season. He got pressure. And now you have the Buccaneers winning 30-20, advancing to the NFC Championship game to face Aaron Rodgers. And just like the Chiefs over the 49ers in the Super Bowl, if you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, it was defined by their final 4 plays of the game. 4 straight stops on the Saints' final 4 possessions. A fumble, punt, interception, interception. That's what you have to do. The defense hasn't been great all year, 21st against the pass all season. But when they had to come up with stops, they did it. And so now we're setting up what should be an absolutely spectacular NFC Championship game, which I'm going to touch on Wednesday. Not going to divulge all my opinions on it right now. But you're the Green Bay Packers. You have a lot to worry about. Now, I really like them, and I'm going to transition to that Rams game in just a second. But Tom Brady and this defense is playing with the utmost confidence right now. And however way you want to slice it, however way you want to divvy up the blame or the credit, doesn't matter. It's about finding ways to win. Did you win the game? It's all that matters. And again, if this was in fact Drew Brees' final game, I'm not here to bash him. The fact that he's out there at 41 is incredible. Again, he and Tom Brady made history being the being the first 2 ever 40-plus quarterbacks to play and start in a playoff game. It's tremendous. It really is. But we're seeing in overnight the effect that Tom Brady has had on this roster and on this team. And again, first year in the NFC, and he takes the Buccaneers to the championship game. It's the 14th divisional win for Tom Brady. Just the second time he's won on the road. He's only had to win 2 on the road in his entire career. And one of them came last night. So tremendous win. And let me shift to the Green Bay Packers because they also had a tremendous win over my Los Angeles Rams, unfortunately. And I'd said this before. This was the worst possible matchup if you were the Rams. I said this. I did not like this matchup, not because personnel-wise they didn't match up. It's because of the weather. This is what I said. And this is the most confident and really the best that I've seen Aaron Rodgers and the Packers look all season. And I would say arguably over the last 11 years since they last won a Super Bowl in 2011. One of my biggest regrets in college was not going to Lambeau Field. My sophomore year, an unranked Wisconsin team, I went to Wisconsin. They went to take on the 5th-ranked LSU Tigers at Lambeau Field the beginning of my sophomore year. And they beat them 16-14. And all I heard from my friends coming back from that game was how they marveled at the sheer magnitude and the aura around Lambeau Field. All the history of the Packers greats, even though this was a Wisconsin game, right? The Bart Starrs of the world, Don Hudson, the Earl Curly Lambeau, Brett Favre, obviously Aaron Rodgers now entering this all-time great conversation for the Packers. And playing at Lambeau Field with the dimmed lights in the stadium, you have the big, bright floodlights shining onto the field. It's like a performance. It's almost like you're going to the Lakers game at Staples Center, where the stands are dimmed down and the lights just shine on the court. You're going to watch a live performance, a live event, right? And Lambeau Field at night is just a different beast. It really is. And in the middle of the winter, I mean, you're talking about a night in which it was 24 degrees. There were flurries of snowflakes falling onto the field. It had just snowed the past 2 days. This was tailor-made for the Packers. I mean, I don't think people understand the cold until you've been there. You show up to Lambeau Field, 24 degrees on a Saturday night, and there are flurries of snowflakes on the field. All you want to do the minute you step outside is to hold a hot cup of hot chocolate and to step into a jacuzzi. That's the first thing you think about the minute you step out onto that field. Believe me. And then you throw on top of that, you got 300-pound dudes tackling you on a frozen field. The last thing you want to do is stay out there. Believe me, the Rams players were thinking about the jacuzzi at their team hotel. Now, credit, they came out and actually played a lot better than I anticipated them playing. Given the adversity, given what they were having to overcome, they were without their best wide receiver. Cooper Kupp wasn't playing in this game. Jared Goff, again, coming off a broken thumb, now is probably fractured 3 weeks later, right? And he actually played pretty well. 21 to 27, 174 yards, a touchdown. Their backup, John Wolford, couldn't even play, didn't even suit up. Cam Akers, your best running back, is coming off a high ankle sprain and was still productive once again. 18 carries, 90 yards, a touchdown. He's fantastic. He's the workhorse. And then the best defensive player on your team and likely the best defensive player in the league in Aaron Donald is coming off a torn rib cartilage a week later. And he's in there. He's suiting up. He's playing. He's not making excuses. And give this team credit for fighting and making this a ball game, because there were so many moments when this game could have absolutely erupted in the Rams' face and the Packers could have blown the roof off, and they managed to hang in there and keep this a ball game. And this is why teams fight so hard for a bye. Now, obviously, this year, this is the first season in which only the number 1 seed received a bye in the first round. Normally in years past, it had been the first 2 seeds. But this is why you work so hard for the first round bye, is because it allows you extra time to heal up, extra time to rest. And when you play an additional game, you run the additional risk of one of your guys getting hurt. That's the reality. Football's not fair. It isn't fair. More games you play, there's a stronger likelihood that you're going to get injured. Just look at the Kansas City Chiefs. Even with the bye, Patrick Mahomes had to exit with a concussion. Even with the bye. The more games you play, the more likely you might incur an injury. That's what happens. And the Packers took full advantage of it, and it's not their fault. In fact, it's a credit and a testament to how they've played all season to receive that number 1 seed, to earn that right to remain healthier for an additional week. And they came out the healthier team and, quite frankly, the better team. And they showed it. They played like it. I mean, injuries are a part of the game. And Aaron Rodgers, if he hadn't locked up the MVP already, he should have after Saturday night. He was absolutely fantastic. I had tons of friends that are huge Green Bay Packers fans. And listen, I acknowledged I'm a Rams guy, but now that the Rams are out, I'm happy for the Packers. I'm happy for my friends in Wisconsin, because this guy is tremendous. He's only won 2 MVPs. He should have, by the end of this year, a 3rd MVP. And there's a reason why Green Bay all season was the best on 3rd down conversions. It's because of this guy. He was 8 for 12 on 3rd downs on Saturday night. He was absolutely spectacular on 3rd downs. He's the best quarterback on 3rd and short situations statistically in the NFL, over 70% completions. and just carving up the Rams defense when he had to. They dominated possession. They out-yarded the Rams by 240 yards. I mean, they were clearly the better team. I'm not here to try and argue anything different. They really were. And Rodgers at home, especially in the playoffs, is a different beast. He's 5-2 as a starting quarterback at Lambeau Field, and he's 5-6 on the road. This is a different character. This is a different team. They feed off of the cold. They feed off of being at Lambeau Field. You can see it. It's a palpable difference. There's a visceral difference in the team's confidence and the swagger, the way that they come out and play. They feed off of that frigid environment, off that inclement weather. And we saw that on Saturday night. And they were just the better team. But I will say this. They were the better team, but they did not have the best play in the game. The best play in the game came from the Rams. Did you see that 2-point conversion? Rams are down 10-25 at the very end of the third quarter. And Goff throws a quick strike to Cam Akers, who laterals it to Van Jefferson, who waltzes into the end zone for a 2-point conversion. I don't fall off my chair too often from football. Most plays I've seen, even some of the most spectacular throws Patrick Mahomes has thrown, I'm like, wow, that was incredible. I get it. That might have been the most incredible play call I've ever seen. And the execution, flawless in a huge spot right there. You needed to have the 2-point conversion, because if you don't get it, then you're down by 2 possessions, by 9 as opposed to just by 7. And the execution there was unbelievable. Say what you want about Matt LaFleur, but Sean McVay, this speaks to his brilliance as a head coach. The cleverness, the creativeness on play calling, the willingness to try anything and everything. Have you ever seen a 2-point conversion like that? From 2 yards out, quick throw to the running back, who's a rookie, a pitch to a lateral back to another rookie, Van Jefferson, who waltzes in, untouched into the end zone. And I saw that, and I tweeted right away. I was like, this is unbelievable. This is actually unbelievable. This is what you pay head coaches millions of dollars for. Get the team ready, sure, motivate. But the play call was absolutely on the money. So Packers were the better team. They deserve to win. Congrats to them and to my friends in Wisconsin who root for the Packers. Happy for them that they won this game. But the best play of the night, man, 2-point conversion lateral. I'm still visualizing it in my head right now. I couldn't sleep watching that play. Absolutely fantastic. Appreciate once again you sticking with me here on Morning Joe every Monday and Wednesday morning, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on J&J Media Network, Facebook Live, Twitch TV, Twitter, and on YouTube. Okay. There are a couple other games that took place in the AFC, and a lot on the line for both of these teams, the Bills and the Ravens. This was the matchup that I was most looking forward to, and interestingly enough, it was I don't want to say the least interesting, because all of the games were interesting, were entertaining, were fun. But I've said this before, when we experience greatness is typically defined, or iconic moments, right, are defined by a play, by a phrase, a word, a moment. You think about the best athletes in sports. They're defined by one word: MJ, Kobe, LeBron, Shaq, Messi, Ronaldo, Tiger, Federer, Nadal, Serena. They're iconic. You think about celebrities: Oprah, Shakespeare, right? Artists: Beyonce, Jay-Z, Drake, Cher, Madonna, all defined by one word. You think about some of the best plays in American history, in American culture. Romeo and Juliet, Romeo, Romeo, where art thou, Romeo? I don't know why I remember it, but I do, because it's iconic. Hamlet, to be or not to be? That's the question, right? All these little adages, these little idioms, words, moments. And that's one of the reasons why I love sports so much, is it provides us with iconic moments. The David Tyree catch against the Patriots in 2008 on a 3rd and 5, 55 seconds left. Eli Manning, with the help of God, avoids being sacked 3 times, then heaves one like 30 yards right into the middle of the field, and David Tyree somehow catches it on his helmet. That's a moment. The Mario Manningham throw, once again, at the hands of the Patriots with the Giants. Down the sideline. Somehow it drops in his arms. He makes the catch, gets his feet in bounds. Russell Wilson throws the pick. This time the Patriots are on the opposite end. They intercept it. Malcolm Butler picks it off at the 1-yard line. These are iconic moments in the NFL and sports history. That's why I love sports so much. And this game was a bloody slugfest defined by one moment. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens down 10-3. The Bills just scored on their first possession of the third quarter. And he's marching them down 15 plays, 66 yards, 8 minutes and 40-second drive, and a 3rd and goal from the 9-yard line. And he throws a ball that's picked off by Taron Johnson, rather, for a pick six, takes it 101 yards. And that was the ball game. It's that one moment that defined that football game. That one moment. And after that, the momentum fully swung in the Bills' favor. I mean, it was like, Lamar Jackson suffers the concussion. They're down by 14. It seems like an insurmountable, lead. The weight of Orchard Park and Bills Stadium just seemed to fully collapse on the Ravens at that point. Tyler Huntley had to come in, had an opportunity actually to hit Marquise Brown on a 4th down play that would have trimmed the deficit to 1 touchdown. He obviously couldn't do it. This is a big spot, even for the kid who I really liked out of Utah. But that one moment is what defined this game. And unfortunately for the Ravens, I will take this to my grave. I thought they were the better team. I really did. You can't ask your defense to do any more, to play any better than they did against the Bills. You're talking about a Bills team that coming into the game was the 2nd-rated offense in the NFL. Top 3 pass attack in the NFL, and the Ravens defense holds them to 10 points. It's the offense, the Ravens offense, that gave the Bills an additional 7 points. You can't ask this defense to go out there and play any better, and the Ravens had the advantage in everything. First downs, total plays, total yards, yards per play, rushing yards, passing yards, time of possession. But the one turnover and the penalties is what cost them the game. It's that one singular moment that we remember. That's what goes down in history. Jerry West against the Knicks in the 1973 finals hits the 3-quarter shot to send the game to overtime. It's those moments that you remember forever. And then I felt badly for the Ravens that your best field goal kicker, Justin Tucker, who arguably is the best field goal kicker in NFL history, the most accurate NFL kicker in the history of the game, hit the upright on his first 2 field goal attempts. So now instead of looking at a 10-9 ball game, you're looking at a 10-3 ball game. And 10-9 feels a lot different than 10-3. Now listen, with that being said, I want to give the Bills credit. All right, I'm not a Debbie Downer. I'm not actively rooting against the Buffalo Bills. I know that's what it seems like over these past couple of games, that I've been rooting against the Bills. That's not true. I'm happy for the Bills, happy for Bills Mafia. Okay, they haven't reached a Super Bowl since 1993. They have an opportunity to do this now. I like Josh Allen. I love the makeup of this team. I really do. He and Stephon Diggs are tremendous. Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, Tremaine Edmonds. This team is great. Tre'Davious White, Josh Norman, like this is a really, really good team, and I respect what they've built. I really do respect what they've built, but to win a Super Bowl and to at least make it to the Super Bowl games, you have to have some fortuitous bounces, some fortuitous calls. They had a lot of breaks. You have to have things fall your way. And right now, they've been getting that. They're lucky that Phillip Rivers couldn't engineer a game-winning drive with 2 minutes left in the wild card game. I know they were already up 17-3, but Lamar Jackson suffers a concussion. He's done for the final 15 minutes. Now Patrick Mahomes suffered a concussion against the Browns, which I'll touch on in a second. We don't know what his availability is like for the AFC Championship game. And even if he's playing, we don't know what the status is of his health. Will he be ready to go? Will he understand the game plan? How healthy will he be? That's the biggest question mark. So, en route to a Super Bowl appearance and a Super Bowl championship, you have to be a little bit lucky. You have to. And right now, the Bills are finding themselves in this incredible spot to perhaps seize this opportunity, and they look poised and primed to potentially pull off the upset. Now, listen, if Patrick Mahomes is playing and is healthy, I'm going to go with the Chiefs. But if he's not, well, the Bills are the better team. So, speaking of, let's talk about the Chiefs advancing to their third straight AFC Championship game with a escape over the Browns, for lack of a better term, 22-17. I think it perfectly sums up that situation. And again, just I hate to see games defined by injuries. I understand that injuries are a part of the game. I said that about the Packers and the Rams. It's inevitable, but I hate when you see it to the star players. And this game should not have been nearly as close as it was, and it wouldn't have been if Patrick Mahomes didn't suffer a concussion in the third quarter. They were up 19-10. They were pushing the ball down the field. It looked like a promising drive. Harrison Butker missed a 33-yard chip field goal. You never see him miss that. He missed an extra point as well. Apologies for that brief little technical issue we had a second ago. You never see Harrison Butker miss an extra point, miss that field goal, right? And he did. That's part of the game. And Baker, to his credit, has showed me a lot this postseason, and I think has showed the Browns organization a lot. That he is a leader. You can ride with this guy. I do think that he is the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. He has proved a lot to himself. He's proved a lot to his teammates. I think he's earned a lot of respect around the league. And unfortunately, they had some bad breaks. They had some bad breaks. Rashard Higgins, 30-yard completion, makes the catch, tries to stretch for it at the 1-yard line, fumbles the ball through the end zone for a touchback. And I love the response from Kevin Stefanski in the postgame when asked about that question. He says, listen, I don't regret anything. I love how hard this team plays. I love how hard they work. And I'm never going to be upset with this team for a lack of effort and a lack of trying. That was a play that we've talked about where we've strongly encouraged our players. That's one of our number one rules in the red zone is to hold on to it and not to try and make that extra play. But I'm never going to tell my guy to not play hard and not try and make a play. And that's what happened. And I love that response from Stefanski, but that's one of those moments where if that's a veteran wide receiver, he doesn't try to extend for the pylon. And instead, he just allows himself, he'll go like a judicious try to make it happen, but he gets pushed out of bounds normally at the 1-yard line, and then he just punches it in with Chubb or Hunt or QB sneak. And instead of a 16-3 ball game where you give the ball back to the Chiefs, now it's 16-10. So, again, I think that now with Patrick Mahomes exiting the game with this concussion protocol, it will be really, really interesting to see what his availability is like. As I just said a couple moments ago, if he is healthy, then I'm taking the Chiefs. That's who I've taken all season because I truly believe they won't lose with Patrick Mahomes. But if we have to ride this this Chad Henne experiment for an entire game, I might need a whole bottle of Hennessy just to get through that because the emotions and the roller coaster that this guy put me through, and I can't even begin to imagine what the emotions were for actual Chiefs fans watching Chad Henne take snaps. This was a tale of not even two halves. It was a tale of like two possessions for Chad Henne. On the first possession, very promising drive. He's marching the Chiefs down the field to the Cleveland 23. There's a holding penalty that pushes them back 15 yards. And now you're at the 38-yard line. And he throws an atrocious pick in the end zone. I mean, that was as bad as it gets right there. He basically just punted it away for a touchback is really what he did. He just said, you know what, I don't really want to give Harrison Butker a chance to kick this. Let's just make them go 20. Let's make them go 75 yards. Let me just throw a pick into the end zone. Let's just punt it away for a touchback. And then the next possession, the defense comes up with stops. The next possession, you have a 3rd and 14, and he scrambles for about 13 and a half yards, nearly picks up the first down. And then you have Andy Reid, who basically throws his two big cojones right on the center field, right on the logo of the Chiefs, and calls maybe the most audacious play call ever for a guy not named Patrick Mahomes. You throw in a guy, Chad Henne, and you run the same play you ran against the Miami Dolphins, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, against the New Orleans Saints, 4th and half an inch, maybe a yard, and you have him pass a quick out route to Tyreek Hill, who picks up the first down. I mean, the stones on this guy, I mean, he just showed you. He showed you, I mean, this is, I'm not even on like FCS airwaves, but he just threw his cojones right on the table and just said, take a look, because this is what we're doing. I'm not running the football. I'm going to throw it on 4th down. That's what I would have done with Patrick Mahomes, and that's what I'm doing now. And you talk about a little chutzpah and a gutsy call. Whew. And the first down sends Kansas City onto the AFC Championship game. So, very exhilarating end, to say the least. Now we got two great matchups, which I'll preview on Wednesday. Packers and Buccaneers, and Chiefs and the Bills. And this is what it comes down to. Okay. So over the past week, not even just the weekend, but especially over the weekend, but the last like 5-6 days, this carousel of NFL coaching hires continues. We've seen all these new coaches being announced. Urban Meyer was announced, head coach of Jacksonville Jaguars. Great position for him. Jaguars have like $100 million in cap space. They have the number 1 pick. Will likely take Trevor Lawrence. You're reuniting Urban Meyer with the Florida fan base, where he already won a national championship for the university. So you know that they're going to wrap their arms around him once again. No state income tax as well. So I think it was reported he's making somewhere between 10 to 12 million, probably up closer to 12 million. So that's not going to be taxed nearly as much. So congrats to Urban Meyer for that. You have the Jets hiring Robert Saleh. And we're seeing new coaches all over the place, all these new hires. Arthur Smith, now the offensive coordinator from the Titans, announced the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Dan Campbell was just announced last night, expected the Saints assistant head coach, and the tight ends coach expected to be the new head coach of the Detroit Lions. And then the latest example was Brandon Staley right after the Rams lost. Their defensive coordinator was announced the Chargers' new head coach, contrary to rumors that Brian Daboll, the offensive coordinator at Buffalo, was going to get that job. Is Eric Bieniemy going to get hired anywhere? Did people forget about him? I understand that from an optic standpoint, yeah, the Texans have come out and said, yeah, we've been interviewing him, but really that's just a ploy. That's just their machination for trying to salvage an unsalvageable relationship with Deshaun Watson, to try and convince him, hey, this is your guy. We're considering him. We're going to bring him on. We're going to interview him a couple times. We're going to consider him. I really don't understand how Eric Bieniemy hasn't been considered more for a head coach. And it doesn't just have to do with the fact that he's a black coordinator. He's a really talented guy. You look at the Chiefs' offense, they've been unbelievable. They've been top 5 the last 3 years. Now, granted, helps when you have Mahomes. That's true. But if you're the Chargers, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that Brandon Staley isn't a good coach. I've heard that he's been dubbed the next wonderkin, and he's just a 38-year-old. And Jalen Ramsey gave him a glowing review, spoke highly of him, and he's well respected, and he's got a brilliant defensive mind. And I do like that because the Chargers have some really big key defensive players: Joey Bosa, Derwin James, Melvin Ingram. This is a good defense. So we'll see what he can do with that. But you've got a prime rookie quarterback in Justin Herbert, who just set the all-time rookie touchdown number, 30 touchdown passes as a rookie. Why don't you pair him with a guy in Eric Bieniemy who can probably thrive with that? You talk about adding Eric Bieniemy to Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, Hunter Henry, that good offensive line. I see no reason why, if Bieniemy is in this situation, he can't replicate the kind of success he had with the Chiefs in Los Angeles with the Chargers. Now, again, that's not to say that Staley is not worthy of this head coaching vacancy. That's not what this is. But the game's evolving. The game's evolving to offense. And it is paramount to have an offensive-minded coaches. There aren't too many defensive-minded coaches that have been able to excel with a young quarterback. I mean, there really aren't. Brian Flores is a great coach. I don't know if he's the best coach for Tua. Now, maybe that speaks more to Tua and his unwillingness or inability to create big plays. But, I mean, some of the most creative minds right now are offensive guys, and that's where the league is trending. So, still don't really know why he doesn't have a head coaching position, but maybe the Texans will be the position, will be the head coaching vacancy that he gets. I don't know. Okay. Final 2 topics of the day. So, James Harden, I didn't even get a chance to really touch on this because I only have this show Monday and Wednesday mornings. And James Harden was traded from the Rockets to the Nets on Thursday morning officially, although it was announced tentatively Wednesday afternoon. So I didn't really get a chance to react to it. But let me first say this. He made his debut with the Nets on Saturday. And this is one of these trades that could potentially be an incendiary or combustible type of reaction within that Nets locker room and between the 3 stars, or could potentially be incredible and a powerhouse, because the potential potency on offense that this team can display, I mean, you saw just a glimpse of what they can do. The first game. They literally didn't, like, they didn't even get a practice in. The first game, all of a sudden, James Harden, no more slump, 32 points, 12 rebounds, 14 assists, triple-double in his Nets debut. KD tops that off with 42 points, a season high, again recovering from a ruptured Achilles, hadn't played in 18 months. He has scored at least 25 points in 9 straight games, KD. And James Harden, for a guy who literally 4 days ago had just finished the worst scoring stretch of his career since his days in Oklahoma City. He scored under 20 points 4 out of the last 5 games he played in Houston. He looked, quite frankly, a little bit overweight. I don't know if anyone saw that picture on Barstool. I don't know if this is real, but you show a side-to-side angle of a photo of James Harden to start the preseason in Houston, juxtapose the first game he was playing with Houston, with the Nets, and it's like he dropped 15 pounds. It's actually eye-popping, and there's a stark difference between the two. And offensively, I mean, Durant averages 31 points per game this year. This is a guy that averages for his career 27 points a game. James Harden, who's having a down year this year, is averaging 26 points a game. For his career, he's averaging 25 points. For his career, he's averaging 25 points a game. Now you add Kyrie, who this year has been averaging 27 points per game. For his career, he's averaging 22.5 points a game. And then you throw in a guy in Joe Harris, who's giving you 14.5 this year, shooting 49.5% from the three-point line. I mean, the offense, the potential on offense for this team is shattering. KD and Harden combined for 74 in the first game. You realize they hadn't even gone a practice in yet. They had one session of media conference interviews, and then they have to go out and play. And the Nets, what makes them unique, again, whether or not you believe that this is going to work, the one thing you have to acknowledge is the Nets are the only team right now with a legitimate big three. KD, Harden, and Kyrie. Everyone thought that the days of the big three were over. In 2008, it seemed to kind of burgeon a little bit in the NBA. You had Ray Allen, KG, Paul Pierce. Then in 2011, 2012, you had the Miami Heat with LeBron, D-Wade, Bosh. You saw a new manifestation of it in Cleveland with LeBron, Kyrie, and Kevin Love. Then the Warriors had their version, which was unstoppable with Steph, Clay, and KD. And then for the last several years, the league was kind of dominated by duos. AD LeBron, Paul George and Kawhi, CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard, Clay and Steph. Now, Clay's been injured, unfortunately. Russell Westbrook and James Harden. Now, obviously, that's Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal now. And there are several others that I could list as well. That's where we thought the game was headed. And right now, the Nets are the only team that have a legitimate big three. So that in and of itself makes them a major player. And if not the favorites, they have to be at least the favorites in the Eastern Conference. Again, whether it will all come together and coalesce, I don't know. And the other piece of it is with Kyrie Irving, given his mercurial nature and his mercurial personality, you basically just signed papers for a really, really expensive premium insurance plan. It's like when you go to a basketball game and you have these half-court shooting competitions where if you win a brand new car. You know that the insurance that the teams are paying is coming at a high cost, a high premium, because sometimes they hit the shot. And if they hit the shot, now you got to give this guy or gal a brand new car. And so you're paying exorbitant insurance premium to cover that car potentially. Now, you don't want to do that, but in the event that someone makes the shot, because it happens, you have to be prepared. You have to have your backs covered. The Nets don't want Kyrie Irving to just walk away from basketball and just stay silent, which it doesn't sound like he is anymore. He's planning on returning, but because of COVID concerns, he's having to sit out a couple games. But they don't want Kyrie Irving just to not be with the Nets. They want this big three, but in the event that he doesn't play, now you can go forward with James Harden and Kevin Durant, which that in and of itself is probably a good enough duo to at least take you to the Eastern Conference Finals, gives you a good chance to come out of the East. So it's just a very expensive insurance plan. But as far as debuts go, and again, what we had just witnessed and seen from James Harden literally a week prior to now, what he put up in his first game with the Nets. I mean, this is why he is who he is. This is why he's one of the best offensive scorers ever. And the fact that down the stretch of a game, he might be the third best guy, given, I don't want to say his complete lack of clutchness in the postseason, but in the last couple of minutes in elimination games and closeout games, now you've got KD and Kyrie to give the ball off to end the game. Then you just send James Harden in the corner. Imagine that James Harden could be the third guy down the stretch. Imagine teams trying to game plan. You're talking about, we got to take the ball out of Durant's hands. We got to take the ball out of Kyrie's hands. Let's make James Harden beat us down the stretch. Yeah, that's a good idea. Even if you don't think he's clutch enough, you really feel comfortable just giving Harden a wide open shot down the stretch of a game? I don't. So the first game triple-double, and not just any triple-double, but a major one, that was spectacular. So credit to him. I don't love the way he left Houston, but that was a tremendous way to get your Nets career off on the right foot. Okay. Final topic, my Malkin's Moments, favorite segment of my show. End every show this way, my favorite segment from the past weekend. And this one, on Wednesday, Sarah Fuller, the kicker out of Vanderbilt that became the first female to kick off and to play in a Power 5 football game, got invited to the inaugural celebration, the inaugural service for President-elect Joe Biden on Wednesday. A huge honor for Sarah Fuller. And this is just a really, really great moment for someone like her, who became the first woman to play in a Power 5 game, to also score in a Power 5 football game. She made an extra point. And not only that, she helped Vanderbilt win the SEC championship game in soccer as a goalkeeper. So this is a tremendous athlete. And of course, was on the football team due to some COVID concerns, limiting the number of players that were on the roster. And she filled in nicely. And it's just, again, another moment that I think is worthy of noting, worthy of celebrating, that she's invited to the inauguration on Wednesday. And shout out to Sarah Fuller, because that's a tremendous moment. All right. Well, that's all the time that I got for you today. Thank you so much for joining me. You've been watching and listening to Morning Joe right here on J&J Media Network, Facebook Live, Twitch TV, Twitter, and on YouTube every Monday and Wednesday morning, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 to 11 Central, and 8 to 9 a.m. Pacific. I am Jonah Malkin, and as always, hope you all have a great rest of your morning.